All right, I guess we're live. Um, Hello and a very warm welcome to another exciting session of the Organic Majlis on clean beauty. Today's topic is something that's evolved into more of a cult, into more than a cult or a mere trend. It's become a way of life for the conscious and the well-aware consumer here in the MENA region. The Organic and Natural Products Expo has been bringing the business community together for the last 20 years, both through online and the annual face-to-face event in Dubai every December. This year's expo is scheduled to take place between the 13th and the 15th of December 2022 at the Dubai World Trade Center, and is an ideal platform for you to showcase your natural, vegan, and cruelty-free cosmetics, skincare, and even hair care. The Middle East is currently leading the clean beauty race. In fact, the Middle East is known to have one of the highest per capita spends of $247 in the world on beauty and personal grooming, mainly driven by Saudi and the UAE. Millennials in the Middle East are turning extremely conscious of what they apply to their skins and their bodies. Considering the shift, or rather the huge shift in preferences, the demand for organic, ethically sourced, and natural cosmetics, the demand is set to soar. Middle East is ready and has embraced change for good. What can brands expect? Without further ado, please allow me to introduce you to our panelists for today's webinar. First off, we have Karen Wells, who's the brand director for Mikiaji from the Kamal Osman Jamjum Group. Karen is an influential, confident, and entrepreneurial director with a strong commercial vision, outstanding leadership skills, and exceptional experience of the international beauty sector. She currently heads the brand at Mikiaji, which literally translates to my makeup in Arabic. In the last 2 decades, Mikiaji has grown into a closely knit family of 1.5 million fans across Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Oman, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Qatar. Mikiaji is owned by Kamal Osman Jamjum Group, one of the oldest and largest omnichannel retail groups here in the Middle East. Next up, we have Gijo Jacob, who's the head distribution and wholesale at Alpha One Aster Pharmacies. Gijo is an experienced sales and marketing professional with a demonstrated history of working in the health, wellness, and fitness industry. He currently works for Aster Pharmacies, which has grown into a brand and a household name that offers a wide range of curative, nutritive baby products, lifestyle wellness products, FMCG products, cosmetics, personal and home care products. Aster Pharmacy has over 200 pharmacies across the GCC healthcare landscape, thereby touching upon the lives of millions and by going beyond boundaries, both in terms of products and services. Last but not the least, we have Mukta Tewani Purain, who's the CEO of MissPalatable.com. Mukta is a graduate in business administration with a double concentration in corporate finance and international business at Marshall School of Business, University of Southern California, Los Angeles. Mukta has previously worked as a forex trade and in asset management. Mukta founded MissPalatable.com in 2017 as a solution for women like herself who were struggling to find beauty brands that were conscious, cruelty-free, innovative, and safe for sensitive skin. MissPalatable.com has grown to be, is proudly redefining the clean beauty sector in the Middle East and is one of the UAE's largest e-commerce platforms catered to clean and niche beauty products and brands. MissPalatable's mission is to score the globe to curate the most innovative, cruelty-free, and conscious beauty brands, bringing them right to our doorstep here in the Middle East. Panelists, thank you so much for joining in today. I know all of you have very busy schedules and all of you are traveling. It's summer here in Dubai and a lot of you are also on holiday, but yet you did take out times out of your schedule to be here with us. And I'm pretty sure your insights and the knowledge and expertise that you'll have to share today will add a lot of value to our audience. All right, to get right into it, we've been hearing about clean beauty, about vegan cosmetics, about cruelty-free cosmetics for quite some time now. And it initially started off as a trend, but at the moment we are seeing that it's increasingly becoming a way of life, and people are adopting it as as a lifestyle. So I'd like to start off with first bit here, and that's about the demand for natural cosmetics and cruelty-free cosmetics. Mukta, I'd like to start with you first. You do run misspalpable.com, which has a wide range of products. What are your thoughts? What sort of demand are you looking at? What trends are we looking at here in the Middle East when it comes to clean beauty?
With clean beauty, I think there's been an overall growth, especially after COVID. Pre-COVID, we spent a lot of time talking to people, a lot of awareness, because especially within the UAE and MENA region, people weren't really aware of the differences, especially between natural, organic, vegan, what clean beauty actually is. But because of COVID and the lockdown, and people spent more time concentrating on skincare and looking at what they're using, as well as there's a growing awareness when it comes down to sustainability, eco-friendly, and just an understanding of ingredients as well, like how are products being formulated, what are ingredients, especially those, for example, I have very sensitive skin. So for me, there's certain ingredients that don't really work for my skin. And where clean beauty comes is, for example, a lot of people, okay, if I take coconut oil, for example, a lot of people are actually allergic or have irritation with coconut, but because it's a natural, people think, oh, organic and natural is better than maybe synthetic. But where clean beauty comes in is it's more about the formulation, more about the ingredients, really looking at how products are being formulated without the excessive use of ingredients that were previously being used, for example. So cutting down on certain preservatives, using more active ingredients and things like that.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for that, Mukta. Very interesting to hear from you. Karen, what are your thoughts on these? I know that Mikiaji has been has a lot of products, and you guys are stepping up your presence here in the Middle East, especially across UAE, and now that Saudi Arabia has been opening up. Do you see a similar trend? Do you agree with Mukta over here?
Yeah, I do, and I think it's not just a trend here. I think it's a global trend. I mean, it's not new. I think clean beauty has been here for a long time. I think that the COVID pandemic has actually escalated the term, and I'll put that in inverted commas, clean beauty, and brought it more to the forefront, which quite frankly is not a bad thing. And in this region in particular, and this is my 5th year actually in this region, I think if you look, I think it's an educational platform actually in terms of clean beauty, and so much as when you're looking at millennials and above, you're looking at a woman who is highly influenced by the influencer pull here. So anything that's written about by an influencer, your consumer is going to buy into. Whereas if you step back and you look at Gen Z, to take Mukta's point, the reality with that digital savvy consumer is that she is very, very well aware of clean beauty and what it means. And it's not just the product, it's the sustainability element of the product. And I think, I've sat on both the manufacturing side and the retailing side. So I've done this, for a very long time. And what was a nice to have in terms of a product has now become a must have. And the consumer is looking more for what's not in it rather than what is in it. And the performance level of that product still has to be extraordinarily strong. So I have seen a very distinct shift in terms of clean beauty, where you're also looking at a high performance result of the ingredients that are being used in the payoff that you would see within a product.
Wonderful. You mentioned a very interesting point there about the pandemic. I'm going to come to that in a bit, but before that, I'd like to go to Gio and have his thoughts as well. I know he works extensively within the pharma industry and has been doing so for quite some time. Uh, Gio, what trends are you seeing when it comes to clean beauty over here in the Middle East?
Thanks, Suraj. As Karen and Mukta mentioned, actually, of course, the trend is here for quite some time, the COVID have actually accelerated actually the whole, the movement actually. But I believe there is some misinformations actually from the brand perspective, brands how they take it. So because there is no legal or official definition for a clean beauty. So many brands have taken it actually upon themselves, to define clean beauty according to their way. So for me, I believe actually clean beauty products must satisfy, for sure. For sure, they should satisfy two criteria. What is very important, actually, clean ingredients, of course, and because it is actually safe, of course, without chemicals and synthetic stuff, and of course it should be transparent actually, because many products actually they claim as clean beauty, but actually again they have actually very mysterious what do you call terms like say fragrance, where actually doesn't know nobody knows actually what goes in fragrance actually. So I mean, you all know actually more than 1,500 ingredients have been banned actually in UAE actually, to even with not actually for an organic or a natural what do you call product, but in cosmetics actually itself, and which many products actually which comes in as mysterious names as fragrance or actually many other ingredients actually have some of these products. So that's very important actually to be very transparent and with a transparent label actually to have a clean beauty product. Of course, other two factors actually, like say cruelty-free, where I mean a global standard of compassion for animals, which we call as the leaping bunny stamp. It's getting more of trends actually, and of course, and veganism. Again, vegan cosmetics actually. If you see actually, it's although it is a niche concept actually, and but it's fast becoming actually the mainstream into the cosmetic industry. And when it comes to sustainability, of course, clean beauty is becoming more than just actually the list of ingredients in a product, but brands are now expected to be actually to produce a cleaner product overall. That includes actually the packaging as well. So definitely, I mean, it's really what do you call? I mean, since actually we are putting more focus actually on these things, so the brands have to be actually much cautious actually how they actually, I mean, offer the products. And I believe actually these are something which is going to stay forever.
So, well, it's very interesting that you have these things to say, Jijo, because I know you, I mean, coming from the pharma sector especially, um, I always think that there's always something unique that that particular sector has to offer every time. And each time you enter a pharmacy, the products that you see are just are not just innovative, but they serve different purposes, and they also have a lot of ingredients in them. They might be complex to understand. So, like you mentioned, I think it's very important for us to have clean and natural ingredients in these products. Um, Karen, you mentioned something about the pandemic, and obviously we are starting to emerge out of it, hopefully. Uh, but what has the pandemic actually done to the clean beauty sector? What has it meant, and what's translated? What's the pandemic translated for clean beauty and vegan-free cosmetics?
I think the word that we've all used is escalation. I think there has been an extraordinary escalation in terms of green beauty on the back of the pandemic. And the last 2 years has been very difficult, but for all of us. But I think to generalize, I think that the majority of us have been able to focus on our health and well-being. And I think that's been at the forefront of everybody's mind. I think particularly in lockdown, everybody was wondering how to look after themselves. Suddenly cosmetics was on a back foot for the first time in forever, really. And I think the skincare essentially came to the forefront of that, and what I can do to look after myself. And along with that came ingredients and the things that can make you feel better. about about yourself, about your skin, and how to look after yourself overall. And I think to Juju's point earlier, I think what became very, very apparent with brands is that they had to formulate and promote their brands as having an everlasting value rather than just a goal setting within their innovation, or I'll just put a few clean products in to present, because suddenly from a few it had to be many, and it had to be a sustainable offer to a consumer who was shopping in that field and would be intending to shop, if you like, ad infinitum. I don't think what we've learned in the pandemic about ourselves in terms of health and wellness is going to go away. And in fact, I think that message will become an awful lot stronger, overall.
Great.
Oh, and another thing as well, if I may just say so. The other thing, of course, that it did do within the cosmetics field, whilst it did affect it tremendously, particularly in terms of lipstick, what it did create and has created, and we've seen the most extraordinary surge, both in product development and elements that we're researching at the moment, is in long-lasting formula, whether that be in foundation, which must also have skincare benefits, as well as lipstick and long-lasting. The longer it stays, they want non-transfer. Obviously, the mask wearing really brought that to the forefront, and I don't think that will go away either.
Very interesting. Pretty sure the pandemic has altered a lot of consumer behavior here, and this is just evidence of it happening in real time. Mukta, do you share the same thoughts? I know that a lot of people shifted to e-commerce during the pandemic. I will come to that, but do you share the same thoughts on whether the pandemic has accelerated? Has that been? Is that what you're seeing as well?
Yes, definitely. I mean, it is escalated it to a crazy level, especially for us, considering that we are e-commerce. Pre-COVID, it was we ended up spending a lot more time on our social media pages, talking about it, explaining what clean beauty is, talking about the differences between organic and all of that. But after COVID, it's escalated to a point where it was, all everyone was talking about, even on social media, was about clean beauty. In fact, there were a lot of discussions and conversations happening during that time, like over things of ingredients, debates. A lot of influencers, skincare influencers, started coming to the forefront, and all of myth busting of skincare ingredients, what you think is bad for you, but it's actually not. I think one of the misconceptions I saw at that point was preservatives. People were always like, oh no, preservatives are really bad, but you need preservatives in skincare and cosmetics. If formulation includes water, you have to have it. There's nothing, it's not bad. So a lot of these interesting conversations started cropping up. And now post-COVID, I'm seeing a lot of people starting to look at makeup as well. I mean, especially for us on our website, like Kate said, lipsticks, long-lasting lipsticks are flying off our website. All people keep buying, people are just buying lipsticks from us. Long-lasting, matte. The questions we get asked as well on our website, do you have long-lasting liquid lipsticks? That's our current popular product is long-lasting liquid lipsticks.
Well, you've just reiterated the point that I made earlier when we started, and that's about the per capita spend on beauty here in the Middle East, and I think that's it's enormous in this particular region. Moving on, you mentioned something about coconut, and that's what caught my attention. And I do see that coconut is a very active ingredient in a lot of products, especially for skincare. Hair, we have a lot of hair oil which has coconut as one of the main ingredients, but this is again a raw ingredient. So what raw beauty ingredients do you think are in demand at the moment? What's exactly being used to make some of your natural products and in these cosmetics?
I don't think there is. I can't say that there's a specific raw ingredient that people are looking for and that's trending. What I'm really seeing is that what's quite interesting for me is that you're seeing a lot of new brands coming out, and what they're doing is they're going back to their roots. So for example, you've got new South Asian brands coming out, and they're going back to their roots of Ayurveda. They're looking at the Ayurvedic ways and kind of formulating products and skincare, hair care based on that. There are brands as well coming out of India, like for example, that are using coconut, and they're formulating products, hair care, body care, shower gels, all based on coconut. And things that so I won't say that it's ingredient specific. I really think it's a whole cultural phenomena that's coming out at the moment, where you have a lot of different cultures accepting and kind of going back to their roots. For example, you've got Asian brands that are really looking back at Chinese herbal ingredients, or in Japan, looking at the ingredients that are found there. Even in the Middle East, you're starting to look at homegrown brands coming up and using ingredients that are part of their culture. So I find this to be a lot more interesting, because there's a lot of innovation that's coming there, where you're taking the old and the new and merging them together. On the other side, I think that I think especially during the pandemic, because everyone was concentrated on skincare, you're seeing a lot of brands coming out with formulations that are heavily on active ingredients like retinol, vitamin C, and all of that. But what I'm also seeing now is that a lot of brands are also starting to look at consumers who actually have sensitive skin and aren't able to use products that are high in concentration of certain active ingredients. So they're recreating products with similar formulations, but a lot more milder. And I see that's a huge area that a lot of brands are starting to look at, because there are a lot of consumers who have sensitive skin, but are just not using a lot of the mainstream products and brands just because it causes irritation for them.
Fair enough, Mukta. Thanks for that. Karen, what do you think? I mean, I'm not too sure if Mikiaji is into producing its own makeup, but what sort of raw beauty ingredients are you looking at?
We don't obviously have our own factories, but it is our own brand. And, Mikiaji has been in the region for 22 years. And buying into what Mukta actually said, obviously our heritage is obviously Arab, even though the product is all made in Europe. But essentially, one of the things I've seen from our formulation team and Kenley, our cosmetic chemist, is that very much we are looking to work with nut and seed oils, and predominantly it's because they replace petroleum. And also a high performance ingredient, so it's much more effective in terms of that natural arena. But he too has seen a significant surge in product development, which involves vitamin C, which is about brightening, which I actually think relates back to COVID actually, and this whole brightening element for the skin, as well as vitamin E and collagen. And those three ingredients particularly is something that we have been asked for actually by consumers in elements that we use. And as an ingredient, I know collagen seems to be exploding at the moment, whether it's in a product that you put on your face or whether you're in fact drinking it. But again, I think it comes back to the wellness element of coming out of COVID and what do I need to do to look after myself. Some time ago, I worked with the Murad brand, and Dr. Murad actually said that 80% of your skin is about what you eat, not what you put on it. And which I think is also very interesting. But I think that also has come to the forefront during COVID, and as we're coming out of it, and all of these, we're all going to become very, very ingredient aware. And knowing what is good for us, because so much more is written about it, which it wasn't necessarily before. And if it was written about, it was very technical, whereas now you see the consumer press actually presenting ingredients and the benefit of certain ingredients in a way that the consumer is actually going to understand.
Very interesting. Once again, Karen, I think some beautiful insights there on what you had to say. Gijo, coming to you, what thoughts do you have on on raw beauty ingredients. Is it any different in the pharma sector, or is it the same?
Yeah, we are distributors of actually many brands, but also we have actually our own brands actually which we manufacture with actually the contract manufacturer. So we work very closely with them. I mean, what we understood actually, I mean, mostly actually they're trying to to find alternatives actually for harsh chemicals and even synthetic products. So what we actually we see since quite some time, of course, vegetable oils, of course, with actually the functional, the active properties, it really is on high demand actually always. But other
Yeah.
than that, actually, what we have noticed, as Mukta mentioned, actually coconut oil, of course, it's really on a high demand because if, with most of the products actually which have which is containing actually coconut oil actually which is getting replaced. I mean, replacing actually palm oil as what we know. Also, shea butter actually, it's really on a high demand actually what we see. And another product which we have, I mean, raw material, what we have seen on high demand is actually licorice. And we all know that actually, I mean, being in pharmacy, actually, we know that licorice was on a very high demand during COVID time because, it actually, it helps on immunity, actually. I mean, it's not as a topical product, even for consumption, actually, it is good, actually. Licorice drops are available. But as we see here, actually, now a lot of brands are actually using licorice because of its aging, what do you call it, benefits. And it's on very high. I mean, even last few days, actually, since I was actually in one of the trade show, actually, I've seen many suppliers actually offering licorice and, the licorice root, which is mostly coming actually from Afghanistan, Iran, and all actually, and is on very high demand. So I mean, there are of course even avocado oil also actually, as what we see actually, they're trying to see what alternatives can be used actually in place of synthetic or chemical products actually, which can help and to avoid actually any of these harsh chemicals actually in the products now.
Fair enough, Jijo. Before I move on to Mukta, I have a question, and that's about suppliers. We do see that a lot of apart from the homegrown brands over here in the Middle East, most of whatever we use in terms of cosmetics and other hair care brands are imported. They do come from outside of the country. And obviously, there are a lot of suppliers who are looking to, get into the market, and they want to distribute their products, which obviously you help them to at Aster. But if there's one advice that you would like to give them, what would that be?
I think, do you want me to, is that Mukti you'd like to ask the question, or is it any of us you're asking? Sorry.
Well, it is Gio, but you can go ahead, Karen. I can come back to Gio.
Honestly, I just think, I think it was Juju that used the word earlier. It was transparency. I think anybody bringing a product into this market, there needs to be absolute transparency in terms of ingredients, sourcing, packaging, right down to your carbon footprint and reality. I think the more transparent you are about the product, the easier it is for somebody like myself or Mukta, who's obviously working with brands, and for Juju, to actually make an informed decision and see how that product fits in with the mix, and have a very credible brand story. It's the what and the why. Where does it sit? Why do I need it? And consider the price positioning of the consumer that you want to buy into it, and the age group, and where you want it to be. And on a skincare perspective, my thought process after 5 years here, having spent so long in the UK and Europe, is that the more, if there's a simplicity to what the message that you are trying to convey, the more simple it is, the better. And there I have seen success, marked success actually, when that has been the case, and I've bought either a brand in or developed something. That I think there's I say not a lot of patience in this market. I think the customer has to understand it easily. You have to cross the language barriers. They have to understand it, and it has to do what it says on the tin, basically. And if it does that, then you will succeed.
Yeah. Thanks, Karen, for that. Mukta, I know you work with a lot of brands that way who necessarily aren't homegrown. What advice do you have for someone who's watching this and who wants to, say, advertise or list their products on misspalatable.com?
I mean, for us, especially if it's a brand that we're bringing into UAE, I mean, one thing you need to know is that, every single beauty product brand has to be registered with Dubai municipality. So your documentation, first of all, has to be, proper. You need your documentation on track. And for us as well, when we have conversations with brands, one of the first things we ask them is, do you have your documentations on hand and things like that, because for us to be able to sell you and bring you in, we have to register you. So that comes down with transparency, and it actually helps us in that way also see through the brands when they email us and on coming on board, because if you're transparent and you've got your documentation on board, you've got your branding on point, it makes our life a lot more easier. And another point is that what Kate said, minimalist skincare is what sells, because this questions that we get from consumers also are really, really simple. It's like, I have dark circles. How do I fix this? Or I've got this problem. I've got that problem. So we have to. So when we're answering the questions, we can't be going into, but this and that and all of that. We have to be specific. Okay, you've got dark circles. Maybe you try this or try that kind of thing. So when brands are very simple with their product descriptions, packaging, we see that they do a lot better, just because a customer can go on our website, they look at the product, they understand it right away, and they just add to cart. Whereas products that are a little more confusing, a little more elaborate, just they don't understand it, then they have two choices. They either move away from the page and go somewhere else, or they start asking questions. Most likely they're going to move away from the page and go somewhere else. So and especially when it comes down for us, because we're e-commerce, we're not physical, the brand pages on our websites are a lot more important, and we've got a lot of SKUs on our website. So when a customer is surfing through our website, they need to know exactly what the product is. And that just makes our life easier as well, if you have your descriptions and everything simplified.
Yeah. Gijo, my question to you is, for the suppliers that, whom you're looking to onboard, what is that one advice that you have for them? And these are potential suppliers who are very keen on expanding into the Middle East, and they want to work with you. What do you go and tell them?
Yeah, as Mukta as well as Karen mentioned, actually, of course, the communication should be very clear actually on products for sure. I mean, what they want to communicate, the customer should be made it very simple actually on the product packaging. And of course, even as consumers focus on clean ingredients, they want the products to be highly effective as well, actually, for sure. So that's very important actually. Otherwise, the product, if the product doesn't work, all the things actually, it's not going to work. And of course, in this part of the world, actually, I mean, attractive packaging, of course, remains as an added advantage, actually, because, need to be actually, I mean, of course, sustainable packaging, everything is very important, but, it need to be attractive as well. So that's something which I would say that it need to be actually focused on. And of course, registrations are very important, actually. So documentation should be proper. Then only actually we will be able to easily register the products, actually. And I mean, claims need to be avoided, actually. I mean, which I would say that comes actually more into the regulatory part. But if there is claims, actually, you won't be able to register actually the by municipality. So I believe those are the most important things, actually, which any supplier who intend to come to actually to sell in UAE, actually, they should ensure such things actually need to be taken care.
Thanks, Gigi, for that. As a follow-up to that, now when we see a lot of organic F&B, organic and natural F&B, be it vegan or plant-based products, we see a lot of them coming from Europe. But my question to all of you is, how does that change when it comes to cosmetics, makeup, and skincare? Where do you see, which country or which region do you see most of your products coming from? Is it from Europe? Is it from India? Is it from countries like is it from Africa? Where exactly are most of your products coming from? Anyone? I think we can start with Mukta.
For us, most of our brands are actually from Europe and from the US. But what's interesting for us is that we're starting to see more interest in Korean beauty.
Okay.
So a lot of the new brands that we've started bringing in are actually from South Korea when it comes down to skincare, and especially in South Korea, what's happening is that there are a lot of brands that are coming out are a bit of a hybrid where they're mixing skincare and makeup. So the makeup that they're coming up with is a lot more minimal, a lot more easier to use for someone who really doesn't have a lot of time to be putting on a full face of makeup. So we are seeing a lot of these products becoming a lot more popular on our website. One of our bestsellers currently is actually our CC cream, and it's it's from South Korea. It's SPF 50, and it's a CC cream, so it's like a tinted moisturizer. And we see customers picking it up, loving it, just because of the convenience and easy to use product. Plus, it's got skincare benefits in it too. So this is what I mean. So a lot of products now, people are really looking at hybrid. So if you're looking at foundation or tinted moisturizers, they want to see some elements of like skincare ingredients like hyaluronic acid or niacinamide and things like that.
Fair enough. Karen, is that the same at Mikiaji?
Yeah, very much the same, actually. As I said, we're an Arabic brand, but our sourcing is predominantly in Europe. But I revert back to the same word again, and I'm sure for Mukta it's the same, because of the transparency of product development in Europe and formulation. And they are exceptionally good, I would say, at following all the procedures and global regulatory, sort of around the world. But that said, in terms of working with my team, I am looking at other areas of sourcing where I believe they can meet the degrees of transparency that we need, but also have very credible, sustainable stories. So, for example, I'm looking towards South America. I'm not sure how the carbon footprint will work out at the moment. That's something else I'm looking at. But I'm trying to, in something that I'm working on, I truly am looking at South America in terms of a whole package, if you like, of sustainability and natural beauty with the most amazing story, which I believe the consumer can relate to very, very easily. And I go back to the pandemic again. I think it's made everybody, in terms of manufacturing, whether you're formulating, manufacturing, whether that's cartons, etc. I think they're all stepping up and raising their game. I think it gave everybody an opportunity to do that. I don't know if either of Giju or Mukta were at Bologna, but I was really impressed with some of the innovation that I had seen there, following natural, organic, vegan and predominantly sustainability stories, whether that goes into recycling, whether the pack is recycled or recycled plastic. There was extraordinary innovation. So I'm only going to, I think we will see that just get stronger and stronger and stronger. So it makes it easier for the consumer, and everything that we do in order to bring a product to the consumer, to enable them to choose, and where natural and organic and sustainability becomes the norm rather than an exceptional category, which has historically sat alone.
Very interesting, Karen. I think you touched upon something very important for all of us, and something that business leaders like yourselves, and that is on sustainability and carbon footprint. I think it's increasingly, coming on top of the list of so many of us, and for so many businesses as well. But I'm going to come to that in the second part of this particular session, and I'd like to go to Giju. Giju, you work with a lot of brands as well. What where are they coming from? Are you working with?
Yeah, it's the same. I mean, 80% of our brands actually from Europe and US, and we have actually, of course, Korean brands, but actually again, it's more of face mask actually. I mean, if you see, we have more of face mask products actually from Korea, but mostly our hair care as well, actually skincare products are actually from Europe. We do have a few brands actually which we have from India now. Actually, we are going to launch a brand called Lotus, which you might be knowing. Actually, we recently, I mean, they are also actually, I mean, into the botanical range and the herbal range. So it's more of, it's all about actually, I mean, which countries have initiated actually, and as what Karen have mentioned over here actually, European brands actually, I mean, they know what is being required actually for our region, and I mean, they're more flexible actually when it comes to to the requirements, what is being needed actually in our part of the world actually. So that helps us actually in making the product available in the market much faster than, I mean, any of the countries actually. So, I mean, if you see, actually, I mean, as I mentioned, actually, I was here actually in a trade show where I've seen, I mean, every country actually have initiated actually, the clean beauty movement, and again, the show what I'm here actually is more into actually, to organic natural products, and I mean, it's surprisingly even actually each and every country, I mean, globally actually have taken a lead actually on that, and they're trying to bring in, I mean, a good range of products actually, and very innovative products actually, into such things. So it's very good to see that actually, and I'm sure actually, and I've seen many of these brands actually. I mean, those over here actually, they are participating actually in Organic Expo, in December. So they told me that actually they're going to be in Dubai actually. I mean, in December with Organic Expo. That means it's really it's an interesting part actually to see more and more brands actually are going to be there in this, and even many conventional brands actually were there actually into the synthetic what do you call products. They are even actually coming up with a range of organic products, so which is also good to see.
Uh, thanks, Jito, for that. Coming to a very important part of this of growth within this particular sector, we see that e-commerce is playing a major role when it comes to driving growth. There are multiple reasons for this. Obviously, it might be the pandemic, but it might also be that this particular sector emerged as a result of the pandemic. But my question, and coming to Karen, because I do know that Mikyaji is primarily into physical retailing and into brick and mortar, and has been a conventional brick and mortar retail store for quite some time now. But I do know that you have ventured into e-commerce recently. How do you think this is impacting business?
E-commerce has definitely had a very positive effect, I think, for everybody, and thank goodness we had it. I mean, it was the only way to buy anything, let's face it, when we were in periods of lockdown across the globe. I think as a platform, it will always be incredibly strong, and I think particularly in the skincare arena. I think sometimes the banners for skincare, they're almost becoming like real estate, and really driving a high click-through rate and a high consumer spend. And I think one of the for me, and bearing in mind, I'm definitely older than Mukta there, and my daughter's 26 and has only ever lived in an e-com world, as it were. Has never known life without an iPad. I think for me, e-com purchasing has so much information power, and as a shopper myself, I often look at a product online and read about it before I go and try it in a store, and I will always go and try it in a store before I purchase. And I think that those brands that really use their platform as a selling site as well as an information site and a demonstration site, so for virtual try on, etc., I think that's where you see success. I mean, for Mikiaji, we're relatively new to it. We only started again during the pandemic on ecom, but as a part of our business, it will definitely grow. But it needs to be interactive and it needs to be informative, I think, to be hugely successful.
Interesting. Mukta, what are your thoughts on this? I know you're primarily within this sector, but on the whole, how do you think e-commerce is impacting this particular industry? Do you think e-commerce is the one that's driving growth, or do you think it still lies, a major chunk still lies with physical and retail?
I think with clean beauty, e-commerce was the driving force, in the sense that, there was my website, there are a few other websites as well, and specifically, for example, the reason why I myself started Miss Palatable was that I struggled finding brands that I wanted to use. At that time, there were only two options where you would buy cosmetics, right? It was either Sephora or Boots. And at that time, Sephora had just about started doing their green at Sephora thing in the US, but it still hadn't reached Dubai yet.
Yep.
So so at that time, e-commerce was obviously a low barrier space, and we were looking at brands that were very, very niche. So the best way we thought was to spread it out on e-commerce, digital marketing, Instagram, social media, because that's where we saw a lot of our customers were at. Today it's a lot more bigger. We're back into physical shopping. I don't think retail is going anywhere. Retail is always going to be there. E-commerce comes out of convenience, and it's an easier way for us to share information. Like what Karen said, the website is just not about selling. It's really about like your blog, your quiz. Like we've got a quiz on our website which helps customers figure out which color would work for them in terms of makeup, because you don't have the luxury of trying on the products. We have to be a lot more personal. So, for us as well, even though we're e-commerce, we still have to go physical. So we still do pop-up events, and especially during the season time, during winter, you'll see us doing events and with a customer base or with influencers and things like that. So you can't completely be online, but I do think e-commerce is a bit of a driving force, because that's the first way a lot of new and innovative brands can come into the forefront, right?
Fair enough.
So what we see a lot is, like, from our website, if products are doing well and brands are doing well, then we sometimes get retailers coming up to us and asking us if they can showcase the products or buy from us and stock in their stores and things like that. So it's always a starting point, I would say.
Right. Jijo, what are your thoughts on e-commerce? I know Aster has very recently begun delivering products along with medicines to people's doorsteps. And it's obviously started very recently. You definitely identify that there's a gap there, but are you seeing a lot of growth within e-commerce, or what's it looking like for you?
Yeah, we are actually in the both channels actually. As you know, we are. I mean, of course, we have retail, Aster retail, as well as actually Aster online. I mean, it's there for quite some time, and we are doing quite good number of deliveries actually. I mean, for both medicine as well as actually non-pharma, which includes beauty. So and also actually we do apart from that, actually we do even the distribution actually to mainstream platforms, actually including Amazon, Gibsons and all. I mean, Momswell and all the major ones as well. So if you see over here, actually mainstream brands, if you see, I mean, the major contribution is actually from the retail. Brick and mortar stores, of course. But again, as what Mukta was mentioning over here, actually, I mean, when it comes to clean beauty, or more of organic or natural products, actually, we have seen sales. I mean, more it's getting more driven actually in online, where more of education happening actually from on digital media. Actually, that really helps us actually to get products actually being driven on e-commerce platforms. We have seen many brands actually which are actually natural or organic. I mean, even clean beauty products actually, if you see, it sells more actually on online, than even brick and mortar stores. So again, it's even if, since that actually we are into distribution actually, so we are in Carrefour, we are in all the major retailers, and even they all actually have started actually major retailers, of course, they have all started actually, having bio natural category in their retail aisle, where actually they still have actually limitations in carrying the number of SKUs when it comes to organic or natural or clean beauty products. So where actually we try to launch such products through online, which really have what do you call, and good engagement with customers actually, where we have good response from customers, where we try to bring those actually good results actually to the retailers, where they are very happy to actually to accept and launch the products even in brick and mortar stores. So for sure, as what we know actually, because you again, it's still I don't believe actually that the mix or the split between brick and mortar as well as the online won't be same as US or UK, or Europe, so anytime sooner. But as I mentioned one of the previous session as well, actually it's going to be at least say 10 to 15% actually when it comes to beauty products very soon. There are categories actually, as I mentioned earlier also, like electronics, and even many other products are actually getting almost 50% actually, with modern trade, sorry, in online. But this is something which is going to to really grow in the near future. But that means actually, of course, that's going to be one of the major channel which we need to focus on.
Well, thanks for that, Gija. It's always very, very exciting to see the changes that e-commerce is bringing in here in the region, because it's still in its very nascent stage when compared to other regions in the world. Thanks for sharing your insights. Panelists, I think that brings us to the end of our first session. As mentioned, we'll be breaking for 5 minutes before we unite again and take it into the second half of this session. I think we've had some wonderful discussions, and all of you have had some brilliant points to share. And hopefully for the next half, I'm looking forward to an equivalent share of insights and knowledge. Thanks so much. You may mute yourselves and switch your video off if you wish to.
We've found UAE partners. We've also found people coming from Iran, from Oman, from Qatar, Saudi Arabia, lots of places. Pretty good so far. We are in the third day, and we've already met lots of partners. Also, the organization has been really helpful with us, so we are pretty grateful. To be honest, Ukraine is the fourth on the world in exporters of organic products. And after we had a survey with the Ukrainian companies, we understood that the Middle East is the second market we would like to open. That is why we are here and trying to find our partners. I think it was perfect. We had only 3 months to organize this pavilion, and as you see, it's working great. We had a lot of contacts and potential buyers, so I think we'll communicate further. And for the next year, I think we'll also plan this exhibition, participate here.
It was a good experience. We would repeat it next year probably with our distributor. You see, I think that the kind of audience that we met is pretty diverse, and this is what is also interesting, right? On one side, we met consumers. They're going to buy on our website, because in 2 days, we're going to launch Ecommerce. We met also distributors. not just for the UAE, but in general for the GCC countries. We're looking for someone in Saudi Arabia. We're looking for someone in Qatar. So we're definitely going to be here next year with our UAE distribution. And then we met a few retailers. And this is why, I think that there's a lot to build into the retail side of the business to, meet the market trends and then start opening up the real organic stuff in the UAE, clear progression to the future. And I think that that's the step forwards that retailers in the UAE and then also in Saudi Arabia will have to face over the next future.
Really nice. In fact, we are super happy because we receive really good potential clients thanks to the organization, because you come with nice people, and I hope that we will finish and with good deal and with good sales. Discuss with our team, we are super happy, and maybe we will come next year. So we need to study the strategy, but I guess that this is one of the best events, one of the best fairs regarding organic and cosmetics. UAE mainly, but from Kuwait, from Saudi Arabia, even from India, Pakistan, Iran. So all the area, not just from here, from Dubai or UAE, but from all the area. So that is really, really nice, because in one point you can meet people from different countries. So that's fantastic.
It's obvious. Currently, organic and natural trends are growing up everywhere in the world, especially here in the Middle East. We understood that Russia has not only the great potential, but the actual products which are getting produced in the entire Russia. We have 85 regions in Russia, and all of them have really natural and unique products. And we thought, why not bring them to UAE as the entry point for the entire Middle East? That's why, as of now here, we're available with 42 companies from Russia.
All right, we are back. Right. I think we've had a very interesting first half, and I think the second half of this particular discussion, and I'd like to start off by addressing a very, very important and very crucial element of this particular sector, and that is about the role of education and how important education and awareness is amongst consumers with regards to clean beauty and everything that's associated with it. Mukta, I'd like to start off with you. I'd like to come to you first, and I'd like to ask you, what is it that you think brands, retailers, e-commerce retailers, distributors can do to educate consumers on the pros of natural beauty?
I think a lot of it comes down to digital marketing and content creation. Whereas, for brands need to obviously educate, but also not greenwash. As like what Karen had said, during the pandemic, one of the biggest problems that came into the limelight was that there were a lot of clean beauty brands that were greenwashing and bashing other products and other brands, like, oh, you shouldn't be using this because it's got XYZ, oh, you shouldn't be using that because it's got ABC, things like that. Whereas and with clean beauty, it's not regulated. for example, you've got natural and organic, it is regulated in the sense that if you've got the organic certification on your brand, on your products, it means that it's gone through the process. If you're cruelty free and you've got the Leaping Bunny or the PETA certification, you've gone through that process. Or same with vegan and so. But there's no such thing as clean beauty, right? It's just it's actually a jargon word. And that's where a lot of the confusion comes into play, because there's no real true definition. Every brand has a different definition for it, right? There's a lot of confusion as well between natural, organic, and clean beauty, for example, right? So clean beauty doesn't necessarily have to be natural or organic. Clean beauty can also have synthetic ingredients in it. The idea of clean beauty is that, and how it came around is that when people, it was really more about the transparency of ingredient lists. There were a lot of brands that were coming out and not putting in their whole ingredients list on packaging or in their marketing. They would be like, okay, active ingredients are ABC, but everything else was hidden. So that's really where the clean beauty movement actually came out. So that's where a lot of the education is actually coming into play. Things like, for example, there were a lot of extreme clean beauty brands being like, preservatives are bad and all of that. But the reality is you actually need preservatives. Otherwise, you're looking at shelf lives of like 2 months, 3 months. You need it. So this is really where education is so important. And for us as well, that's why the brands that we like working with, we like them to be a lot more realistic. And I would say, I think that's the right word, being realistic about exactly what the brand is, being transparent about the ingredients, really looking at what their mission is, why they started the brand. A lot of these upcoming brands that are coming up and the ones that we work with, there's always a story behind it. It's always started because there was the founder had a problem, or and they were trying to solve that problem. So that's where we start looking at our curation.
Right. Karen, I know that Mikyaji is very, very popular, and the target group that you go after are the Gen Z and the millennials. What is it that you're doing to educate your target group about clean beauty and natural products?
I think for us, I think Mukta is absolutely right. It is about digital and the content creation and how you talk about the brand, but also I think it also very much relates to the product. And I think the messages that you have about your product need to be amplified so that the consumer actually sees it easily. So it is, whether it's halal, whether it's vegan, whether it's cruelty-free, whether it's clean, so that the customer, in their minds, the psyche of the consumer, and I say again, driven probably through the pandemic, they're becoming more and more aware of these symbols and what they mean, but they can't necessarily find them on a product. So the objective with my team is that those messages that we have in everything that we do are communicated to the consumer. I don't think you can ever take anything for granted, and you never should, but also to be proud of displaying the symbols which the consumer is now particularly aware of, particularly Gen Z, and they are expecting to see that. And I'm not sure, and maybe Juju and Mukta would also have an opinion, I'm not sure that those symbols are necessarily amplified on anything, whether that was in cosmetics or food, that the messages for the consumer weren't necessarily clear. So that transparency, it was sort of there but hidden, whereas now there is an expectation that it has to be visual, it has to be seen. If we've got a story to tell in terms of sustainability, then we will absolutely tell it, so that the consumer knows that we have looked at every ethical element of the product we put in front of them. And not only is it high performance, but we've ticked all the boxes in every other areas to ensure that the product that they have is vegan, organic, etc. I think transparency is everything. I think it's a very key word that we've used a lot in this conversation.
Yep, I completely agree with you here. Karen. I'd like to go to Jiju and ask him what his thoughts are about this, about education, especially considering a lot because Aster is in the pharma and is into the pharma space. I do sense that there's a higher responsibility that you carry versus other brands because you're into the medical space. What are your thoughts on this, Jiju?
Yeah, I completely. I mean, it's very important actually, to educate, the consumers. I mean, to communicate, of course, actually more than actually the educate. Because at the end of the day, the suppliers won't be able actually to directly, educate the end consumer. For sure, it should be. I mean, either through actually, through the digital media or actually through the product having actually a proper communication over, on the product itself, as what Karen mentioned, actually to have, the proper, the what do you call the emblems actually or the certifications actually on the product which is being followed. Of course, we all know that actually we don't have any regional certifications. Actually, we still depend actually on the global certifications, which again it's getting been validated by even our local bodies. Actually, simply we can't say organic. That means actually, even when we go to the municipality, for registration, actually it is, of course, we need to provide them the proper documentation. If it is natural, or if it is actually being claimed as organic, that means actually, we have to provide them, what do you call, the certifications from the country of origin itself. So it is very important because, I mean, in my career, I've seen, in the past, actually, we used to sell, what do you call, conventional products, with harsh ingredients, so that that have really caused a lot of, we have seen a lot of, I would say accidents being, for use, not a proper, actually improper skin management, what do you call, management, situations where wrong product mixings happened. Because it's all harsh chemicals actually, so it can really harm, your skin. So it's very important actually, a proper communication can really goes to the consumer, which will help us actually, to really communicate well with our consumers as well. So it's very important.
Uh, thanks for that, Jijo. Moving on, I'd like to come to a very, very important part of the second half of this discussion, and that's I think Karen briefly touched upon it earlier in the session. That's about sustainability. Um, as mentioned, it's increasingly being on. I mean, it's moving higher up the ranks on agendas for most business leaders. But what I would like to ask each one of you is, how important is it for sustainability to be an element into a product? In the sense that, how important is it for you as a business and as individuals to have the sustainability element in that product, and how are suppliers helping you achieve these sustainability goals that or targets that you have as a business? Karen, would you like to go?
Yeah, I think as a message that sustainability affects actually all of us. In whichever field or category that we operate in, and within cosmetics, I can't say to you that every product that we produce can be 100% sustainable, but as a business and across our business, where we can, we are certainly looking at how we can achieve that in certain products, and our supply base actually, where we are in the area that we know that we can do it, and I will say that it's our biggest area, have been enormously supportive, and in actual fact have been in elements, they've actually come to us with an option to consider. And I think it's the responsibility of a retailer and also manufacturer, and in any category that they work in, to start looking at these sustainable solutions across the board. I mean, I think we will have all noticed when we were in lockdown the stories of dolphins suddenly appearing in rivers and waters, and everything became green because we weren't flying, etc., etc., etc. And I think that those stories really resonated with, sort of hit the world like, whoa. we have to protect this planet. We have to look at every option. We might have come late to the table, which I think in some countries and around the world is probably the case. But we all have to look at that to ensure that we have a bright future. And I'd like to think that across any and every industry that that we will be embracing that challenge, and to see where that journey takes us. It won't happen overnight for sure, but there will be a plan in order to achieve sustainability where we can.
Thanks for that, Karen. Mukta, I'd like to come to you. How important is sustainability, and how does that rank in terms of priorities for a product, and for how important is it for a product to be sustainable, and is it important for sustainability to be a major element in the product?
For us, for us, we really believe that every company, every brand should have sustainability as part of their CSR, right? Can the beauty industry be 100% sustainable? No. There are a lot of issues still there in terms of packaging, in terms of supply, that still needs to be smoothened out. So for us, we're never looking at brands and being like, are they 100% sustainable? But what we're really looking at is are they working towards it? Are they doing certain things? For example, some brands are able to get the right packaging that is a lot more sustainable. With makeup, it's a bit more harder, right? So we understand that, but we also can see that, okay, if we can't do it sustainable, maybe we can try looking at recyclable or look at refills, like different ways. So it's still a long way to go. And to be completely honest, if a brand tells me that they're 100% sustainable, I tend to get a bit more wary about it. because I know that it's not possible. I have spoken to a lot of packaging manufacturers. I've spoken to a lot of brands founders themselves, and and they've told me that issues and things like that. So I do understand that. So that's why for me, sustainability is more of a journey. Is the brand looking at it? Is the brand looking at going on that sustainable journey? And are they trying to do whatever they can in their hand right now, and constantly looking at evolving and adapting it? That's what's more important for me than looking at a brand that's saying that they're 100% sustainable, they're recyclable. Okay, I've got this packaging, I've got that packaging, and all of that. Because at the end of the day, a brand might be like, oh, I'm using glass packaging, so we're a lot more sustainable. But then glass has a higher carbon footprint. So what do you do, right? And people, oh, plastics are bad, but then plastic actually has a lower carbon footprint. So this is what I mean. So it's still a bit of a journey. So that's why so for me, it's like I said, it's if you're not 100% sustainable, that's fine, but you need to be on that journey because it's important for our planet.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I have a follow-up question to this, and that's from the consumer point of view. Do you think if a product is sustainable, and if you have two products, one which is sustainable and the one which isn't really sustainable, where do you see your consumer going? Is he picking out the one that has eco-friendly packaging? Is he picking out the one that's that has better quality ingredients that reduces carbon footprint?
In this market, I would say the customer will buy the product that it delivers what they want it to do, because it's about the payoff of the product here.
Okay.
I would say whether it was sustainable or not wouldn't matter. If it actually did what they wanted it to do, my experience would be that's the one they're going to buy. I think they would be conscious of, oh, one's sustainable, one isn't, but actually I like the payoff of this one better. And that's why I think the education in this market will continue, but there can be no compromise on a product payoff because it's sustainable. That the demand of the consumer here wouldn't allow that. It's 3.5 times the consumption of the rest of the world in cosmetics, and they are very savvy in terms of the payoff that they want that product to have. And 75% of my business is in Saudi and is an Arab consumer, so she is very, very clear what she wants to buy and what that payoff has to be.
Well, fair enough, Karen. It's good to know that people here know exactly what they want and where their priorities are. Gigi, I'd like to come to you on this. As a consumer myself, and being, having bought multiple items from Astor, of late noticed that there's a lot of, you have started using paper bags instead of plastic. So there is definitely, obviously, that comes in line with the single use plastic ban. But apart from that, I do know that Astor ranks sustainability as high priority. How does that translate to when it comes to products that you procure, and how important is sustainability as an element for the brands that you work with?
Yeah, as I mentioned here earlier, actually, we in Astor actually we give a lot of importance actually to sustainability, and actually, I mean, Astor is one among the 100 top sustainable companies in the world actually, and that's been actually, yeah, and we was being awarded actually. I mean, we were 4 months back. We are actually ranking 94th actually. In sustainable initiatives actually, which we are so proud that actually, as what Suraj rightly said, actually, 4 years back actually we switched to 3 years back we switched to paper bags actually. Even before, I mean, this initiatives actually happened much in Middle East, I mean, in UAE actually we have done that. But what we see actually when it comes to the brands, of course, sustainability is actually becoming more important actually for even the brands to be, when it comes to be considered. As what we all said, actually, we cannot be 100%, sustainable for sure I mean, in terms of products. But, end of the day, what we can do is actually in terms of packaging, can be a biodegradable packaging. Because there are plenty of alternatives actually, as what we see, what brands actually who are really moving more actually into clean beauty trends. They are actually changing their packaging to biodegradable packaging. So that means actually there are effective ways actually how they can do it with corn, and even actually, I mean, in even from mushrooms, and even I've seen actually recycled ways actually how we can do that. So there are alternatives actually, of course, but again, we do understand actually. I mean, it might take some more time, but there are initiatives. I've seen a lot of products actually. I mean, even in the show where I'm now actually, we have seen where actually there is completely zero plastic, which they have actually moved to corn, in terms, to use the tubes. So, I mean, it's glad to see that actually the brands have taken a lot of initiatives on switching to that. And I would see that actually, I mean, other brands also will soon actually shift to those things.
Well, thanks for that, Gijo. I think we have about 15 minutes left exactly on this session. And I like to move into the last part of it, and that's about the future. What's next for the clean beauty industry? Where are we headed? And what trends are you predicting, or what trends are we likely to see in the near future, say in the next year or so? Gijo, would you like to go with that?
Yeah, I would see two things actually which we can read together with it actually in clean beauty, which I've seen many brands have actually initiated. That actually one is actually socially minded way how they actually, the brands are actually, using to demonstrate a particular concern with social and environmental issues. Actually, that means they are trying to be a part of that, which is something which is very important. And similarly, actually giving more as a company, to choose, a brand with actually affiliation with social impacts, which I've seen sharing as actually, to social causes. I think these two are actually the main two part actually, which we could read together with actually, other things what we have discussed here today.
Well, okay, that was something new that I heard. Thanks for that. Karen, coming to you, what are you thinking? What's Mikiaji thinking? What are you predicting for the future when it comes to clean beauty?
I think one of the points that Gigi raised actually is this link, if you like, from product that is you're purchasing or working with that maybe is supporting the rainforest or something in terms of what you buy. So if you're buying a particular product, it contributes to planting trees or, you know, etc., etc. I'm seeing very much I will see more of that coming through. But I also think from an ingredient level, and I know Gigi's at a fair and you may well have actually seen this, but using, if you like, synthetic biological sources, if you like, for product, or finding botanical options in ingredient to replace synthetics will continue, and I think that's will continue to be quite a big trend, and things coming out and things coming in. But I also think the amplification of clean beauty and the USPs of a brand will become more and more paramount. And I think that's something that any brand would ignore at its peril, really. It really needs to be communicated well.
Right. Mukta, what are your thoughts on this? What trends are you predicting? What are your metrics saying at the moment?
So CSR, very important. Sustainability, extremely important. You know, people are definitely looking at packaging, all of that. We're definitely seeing an increase in makeup now that we're all back into the real world. So there's been a lot of into the Middle East. At the same time, there's a whole new conversation that's starting to crop up, and I feel like that's eventually going to come down to the Middle East as well, which is called slow beauty. So you've got slow fashion, and you know we've gone through this process where you've had brands come churning out SKUs after SKUs, a bit like Zara and things like that. But what's happening now is like you've got all of these smaller little brands coming up, and they're saying, no, we're just going to do 2-3 SKUs and that's it. And we're going to do 2-3 SKUs for the next 5 years. And a lot of that's really coming down to, you know, people being a bit more conscious, the whole minimalist movement that's coming up with the Gen Zs as well. So I think eventually you're going to start seeing that span out. Although I think it's more of a Western world phenomena, because I do know Middle East still loves its its things. but we are starting to see a little more of this minimalism side starting to crop up. You know, we've got some customers who are actually looking for products that are a bit more minimalist, like the vibe of it, you know, like packaging that looks a little more clean, a little more minimalist. I mean, you know, you've got brands like The Ordinary doing, you know, completely simplified, and we're seeing more brands coming out like that. So yeah, I definitely think you know, we're going to see a bit more of minimalism and coming in. Makeup is definitely on a rise. We're definitely seeing makeup and hair care. Hair care is a big segment as well that's growing in this side of the world, especially when it comes down to clean beauty. So yeah. I think it's we're still at the beginning of the clean beauty phase within the MENA region. So there's still a lot of growth, I think, that's to come.
Right. Awesome. Thanks for that. Very interesting. Once again, I think especially when it comes to slow beauty, I think time will tell us of whatever you said was right or not. But definitely. See that as an upcoming trend. Well, since we just have somewhere around 5 to 7 minutes to go, we have a question from one of the audience, and that is around product and product labeling and certification. We do get this question quite often because there are a lot of suppliers who are based in Europe, and I'd like to direct this question to Gijo. Because I know that you work with a lot of brands and you distribute as well as you retail, especially at Aster. But this gentleman has a question saying, what is the exact product labeling certification and product information that is required from his end to work with distributors like yourself?
Yeah, so it's actually, as we all know, actually, I mean, there are two ways of registering products now, actually. I mean, UAE, one is Dubai municipality, and the other one is ESMA, actually, but ESMA is still not a mandatory part, actually, where mostly every brand actually goes with Dubai municipality. So when it comes to labeling, I mean, there are actually specific requirements as what every each and every cosmetic products actually which will be in required for. So if I will see actually the label requirement, the minimum requirement for cosmetic products are actually the product name should be there, the brand name should be there. Ingredients actually, it should be arranged in a descending order according to the weight or volume. Country of origin for sure. Storage conditions should be there. It should be declaring actually any ingredients which cause hypersensitivity or require any special usage instructions. If it is there, it need to be highlighted. Product expiration date should be clearly mentioned actually. But I mean, there is something which is still an gray area, because earlier they used to have period after opening, which was
Yeah.
either period after opening actually, or production and expiry. These, either one of these should be there actually. So that, but these days actually, even some of the Emirates actually, say for example Abu Dhabi and Alain, Abu Dhabi and Northern Emirates, actually, they are insisting actually to have production and expiry date itself, not just actually, a period after opening. So it's good to have actually the production and expiry on the product barcode for sure, net weight or volume, whatever it may be actually. Nutritional information actually should be clearly mentioned on it. So these are actually the basic requirements when it comes to label.
Well, thanks for that, Jijo. I think I'm pretty sure that comprehensively answers the question. Well, panelists, thank you so much. That brings us to the end. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. It's been wonderful interacting with all of you. Once again, I know all of you have very busy schedules, and you're taking time off to share your insights. I'm pretty sure the audience had a lot to take back from whatever you've shared. So once again, thank you. Thanks for joining in today. And for the audience, thank you for tuning in, and once again taking time from your schedules as well to be a part of this very important discussion. Our next webinar is scheduled to take place on the 10th of August 2022 at the same time, and it's about something again very, very interesting, which is on pure natural honey. Something that is not just in demand, but also has a lot of religious and cultural significance here in the Middle East. So I look forward to meeting you all once again over there. And panelists, thank you so much. You may leave the call. Thanks for joining in, and have a wonderful day.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.